Yes.
Oh, okay. All right.
Bernie,
Well, it's 7 o'clock, correct?
make a motion to approve the minutes of January 19th, 2021.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Bernie.
Any questions, comments out there, Kathy?
Michelle, do you see anything?
I do not. Let me look at the Q&A. No, I do not.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next, we have a public hearing. Are you turning that over to Joe or?
Yes.
I don't have the agenda in front of me. What's the public hearing again?
It's authorizing the issuance of short-term debt.
Oh, okay. I wasn't familiar with that because I didn't draft it. So I'll open the hearing, introduce into the record the proof of publications, the ordinance, and the,
Here's John.
hi, John, and introduce them as a Board Exhibit 1 and Board Exhibit 2 respectively. With that, everyone's familiar with this ordinance and enables you to enter into debt that
Yes.
talked about for the last month or so. Anyone on the board have any questions about the ordinance?
No.
Nope.
Anyone from the public have any questions or comments?
I don't see any hands up.
The hearing and seeing none, then we'll reconvene into the public meeting portion of the agenda and adjourn the hearing.
Okay.
Wait. I'm sorry. There is one hand up.
Okay, hold on.
I don't know who it is. I'm going to allow them to talk.
It is John Eldridge.
Okay. Go ahead, John.
John, you're muted.
I just asked him to unmute.
If she's not breathing really fast, let me, hold on. a minute.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Authorization, the short-term, debt, are you talking the $500,000?
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. When you said issuance, you have something in mind, a rate or a duration? When you say short-term, you're talking 5, is there anything you're going to tell us about this or is it a secret?
It's a 5-year note.
John, do you want to explain what the loan's for?
Yeah, John, can you get off mute and explain the terms and the interest rate and total interest charges? John's muted.
Yeah, all right. The term is 5 years. The interest rate will be determined tomorrow. The most recent interest rates that were issued was 1.08%. It's the same process that the township undertook when they refinanced the debt in December. The structure of the balloon payment the documents are identical except for the dollar amount and the term of the loan.
Is the note discounted or is there if it's 500,000, do we get 500,000?
We get $500,000.
Okay.
And how much do we end up paying for the debt?
About 1%, which would be slightly more than $5,000 total.
Okay.
Any other questions, John?
No.
I don't-
Anybody else out there that has a question?
No, I don't see anything.
Okay, then all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No. Okay, next we have the police report.
Okay, the Westminster Township Police Department January police report. For training, we had CPR, first aid, AED updates. Summary totals, number of calls for service was 108. Number of crimes investigated was 4. Number of arrests, 2. Protection from abuse violation and disturbing the peace. Number of traffic stops, 17. Number of accidents investigated, 3. And that's all.
Thank you.
Question here, Sergeant Russell. When I looked over the 2021 versus the 2020 stats, it seems as though we have a lot more, considering we're only 2 months into it, but there was a lot more percentage-wise. Do you have any idea why that is? in 21?
Percentage of what, sir?
Well, I'll just pick, and these numbers aren't correct, but in, let's say in 2020, we had 12 of one type of crime or incident. And in 2021, we already have 4. So, and it seems to be there's quite a few categories. I'd have to go back and look at it in order to pick them out. But
Okay.
am I right?
I'm sorry, are you saying that there's more now or less now?
No, more now in 2021.
I would have to look into it, Bernie.
Okay,
I'd have to go back and look through everything, and we'd be more than happy to talk to you about this. If you could let us know exactly what you would like to know, we could look into the numbers and see if we can get you a clear answer. But I'd really like to look at everything before I answer that, and just see what the numbers actually are
okay.
here. Okay?
All right, next is the bills list.
I make a motion to approve the bills list in the amount of $291,176.26.
I second that.
Kathy or Michelle, any questions or comments?
I don't see anything. Let me check this over here. Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And next we have the treasurer's report.
I unmuted. Okay, so the treasurer's report this year, I'm going to do something a little bit different. Instead of having 2 areas on the website, and we're working on this, I'm going to consolidate it to offer one treasurer's report. So on this treasurer's report, I'm giving the same information. I'm just taking the budget detail that I provided on my budget to actual reports, the budget performance reports previously, is now going to be included on the treasurer's report. So it's just going to be one report to look at going forward this year. So with that being said, hang on, let me pull it out. So month ending January 31st, 2021, in the general fund, on the first page, we have an ending fund balance of $2,854,904.22. And then I give us a budget summary on the report. I'm showing $117,050 in revenue and $454,404 in expenditures. So one thing to keep in mind is the whole the delay in mail. So we had problems with receiving payments, receiving checks, and so on and so forth. We had a lot of problems with our vendors even receiving our own payments. So that could explain the loss in, not loss, but it's less revenue than typical. And then on the next page, I give a 2021 year-to-date chart of where the money is, where your money is being spent. And then I added notes. So I'm going to be adding notes and monthly highlights in the general, in all the sections, if applicable. So this month, I mentioned the mail delays with the USPS. I also mentioned in the revenue, we received a payoff of a 2010 municipal lien in the amount of $8,882 this month. Data, and then for the expenditure notes, on the next few pages, I have the the budget detail, the breakdown of everything for general fund. And I comment on some of the expenditures that may seem a little bit alarming. The data processing was a little bit higher than usual because it included a bunch of Blue Fox Creative Invoices. He is the company that handles our website. So we weren't receiving any invoices, turned out to be an issue with where they were being sent. So they were actually from July to November. We paid invoices back that far. Police contracted services include Cody 2021 Annual Support Agreement, 2021 Chester County SWAT Annual Membership, and YCG 21 Calibration Agreement. So those are big expenses. They're only once a year. Let's see, vehicle parts for Public Works. We ended up getting this month in January the bunch of tires for truck 4, tires and mounting for the grader, which was a large expense, parts for the mower tractor 1, and trucks 1 and 3. In Public Works, tools, repairs of tools and machinery included parts for the grader as well. Let's see, highway supplies and materials. So I made note here that in the budget for 2021, actually, we didn't have anything budgeted in that line item. We're switching them between paved roads and gravel roads. So I have a little bit of money in there. It's going to be moved in February down to paved roads in February. It's cold patch. It's just cold patch for the various township roads. In 492, those are the transfers. That's $123 or $123,000. That's the transfer into the new capital equipment fund that we budgeted for in 2021. So skipping ahead is the budget breakdown. And then in open space, month ending January 31st, 2021, we have an ending fund balance of $2,347,739.07, with revenues, the EIT of $25,553, 0 expenditures. In capital project reserves, ending fund balance, $678,312.85. We just had interest revenue of $144. The interest rates are really down. In capital road this month, in January, we have an ending fund balance of $4,717,089.50. This for the month of January, we have interest revenue of $324 and expenditure of $22,675, which was payments made to McMahon Associates for the engineering services on Buttonwood Bridge. Capital equipment, month ending January 31st, 2021, we have an ending fund balance of $123,030. So that includes the $123,000 transferred from general fund, the annual transfer, and a measly 30 cents in interest, I believe. Liquid fuels, month ending January 31st, we have an ending fund balance of $21,922.05. Not much activity going on there. Electric for the traffic light, that was about it. For sewer, month ending January 31st, 2021, we have an ending fund balance of $68,116.99. We received $16,228 for sewer use charges from residents. We paid Pulte's quarterly payment in January, so that would have been fourth quarter. Let's see. In escrows, we have an ending fund balance for January 31st, 2021 of $236,042.14. And then on the last page, I just moved the description of revenue accounts and expenditure accounts. I just feel that's helpful for the public to have that in my treasurer's report. That's
Thank
it.
you. Excellent, thank you. Next, we have the manager's report. John?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, aside from me,
Oh, John,
yes, ma'am.
there's one hand up. John Eldridge is raising his hand.
My question is, have the numbers been posted yet? Or
They
is this,
have. So John, we had
I couldn't find them.
well, so now there's one report. So now you have to look under, if you go under the finance page on the website and then click on treasurer's report, it should be right there, but it wasn't posted until today because we had website issues.
It's not in budget and performance as usual.
Well,
Because the treasurer's report didn't have all that stuff in it.
right, the only difference is I combined the general fund budget breakdown, which was on the budget performance, is now included on the treasurer's report. Everything else, all the other funds for budget performance was always included on the treasurer's report. The only thing that was not previously included was the detail, the budget detail for general fund. I have now included that on the treasurer's report, so there's no need for two separate areas. There's now one report to go to. Does that make sense?
No, but I'll look for it there. I mean, I would assume you would do the treasurer's report before you try and post them, but we can wait, I suppose.
Well, I'm not going to be posting the budget reports because they are on the treasurer's report now.
Okay.
Take a look at it and email me if you have any questions. You'll see what I mean if you look at it.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Uh-huh.
Is there anyone else out there that has any questions?
I don't think so.
Okay, then moving on to the manager's report, John.
Yes, Mr. Chair. In addition to the items in the manager's report, I spent a considerable amount of time this past month working with the Highway Department on the roads program and on the park grant application, both the one that the board will be considering tonight, as well as two additional applications that'll come to the board in March or April. That's about it.
All right, thank you. Next, we have a thank you letter from Upper Euclid to our police department for their help in a matter. Now, I guess we're going into the Buttonwood Bridge replacement presentation. Chris?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Chris Seaman from McMahon Associates will be here tonight to make a presentation on the Buttonwood Bridge project. I left it up there to, have a conversation with the board to determine if they're satisfied with the presentation and like to see some additional work. And the next step, should the board find this to be acceptable, would be to direct the administration to have the engineer prepare an engineering fee schedule to do the necessary design. That could be considered at a later meeting. I'm sorry. So I believe Chris Seaman is here. Someone let him in the meeting.
Yeah.
He's in. Yes.
In? Okay.
All right, thanks, John. Let me share my screen here. Okay, it says host disabled participant screen sharing. Can someone allow me, I guess, access here?
There you go.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. Thanks everybody for their time. Just wanted to go over the Buttonwood Lane bridge replacement. I had spoken to the board back in August. We had kind of gone through the project. So I just wanted to kind of start off by going through maybe just a little summary kind of about the project again, just to refresh everyone's memory. Buttonwood Lane Bridge is located off a hollow road. It basically consists of two spans. There's a main span, the first span 18 feet 6 inches long, concrete encased steel I-beam bridge. Then there's a smaller span that's 10 feet long, concrete encased steel I-beam bridge
And both of those are separated by an elevated retaining wall that's approximately 48 feet long. Currently, the bridge is posted for 25 tons, except combinations 30 tons. It has a 12'6" existing clear width, and it is a one-lane bridge with that width. It also serves as the only point of access for the multiple residents back here on Buttonwood Lane. Just, so everyone is familiar with what it looks like. This is the first span, the main span, the 18'6" span. This is where majority of the water flows through. At some point, there was obviously a wooden structure or pier installed in the middle there to provide some kind of support. This second span is a 10 feet long span further down. Again, a little bit of water comes through here. Most of it at this point is blocked off with debris. And this is just a picture of this retaining wall section that kind of divides the first span at the end down there with the smaller one. There's a little information about the water that's running through it. It's part of Birch Run. Birch Run, actually, it comes down. Let me see if I can. Okay. Birch Run comes down at this point right here. It diverges. Some of the water comes down and runs through the main span here. Most of the water comes down through here, bypasses the smaller span, and then comes through the main span down here. When we met back in August, we had basically looked at two options. There was option one, which we had kind of recommended, which was building a new structure immediately adjacent to the old structure, and kind of building enough to move traffic until this part was constructed, and traffic would remain over here, and then flip-flopping the traffic while we built the rest of the bridge. And then there was the second option, which was previously presented, which is a separate structure downstream of the bridge, which we're calling option two. So as part of that, we went and looked at option one. Now, so let me see if I can zoom in a little bit here. So you can see right here, in red, the red hatch are the two existing spans as they're shown right now. So the water comes down. Like I said, some of it gets through this existing smaller span. Most of it actually goes by it and goes down through this one and meets up with this leg. Now, what we did, we went and did, as part of our previous proposal, we did additional survey, and we also did the H&H analysis for the existing conditions as well as proposed conditions to determine what the span length of a new bridge would be to ensure that both the 50 and 100-year water surface elevations would be less than the existing. Now, the bridge is not in a detailed FEMA study area, so there is no regulations from FEMA on the increases, but we wanted to make sure that we weren't actually raising water surface elevations, making it any worse than it is today. So what we came up with was a 40-foot span. So in orange right here would be the location of the new bridge. We would remove the smaller span right here. We would regrade around that. We would provide a bigger opening close to the main span right here. So the water would go by here, which it pretty much does now, and it would go under here through the 40-foot span. We basically have like a low flow channel where the existing bridge was, and then when there's heavier flows, it would kind of expand back out to here. So you can see the gray on here is basically the proposed road. The green on here is what is left of the existing road. Let me zoom back out. So just some details, and I have some other pictures in here, but some details on option one. It's a proposed 40-foot long pre-stressed concrete adjacent box beam structure. There'd be 6 48-inch by 17-inch deep adjacent box beams. Total width 25 feet 7 inches out to out. There'd be 2 11-foot 1 1/4-inch lanes, and again, as I mentioned before, stage construction. So what I provided here was the hydraulic data based on our H&H analysis. In terms of openings, we're actually providing more opening than what the two existing ones provide now. And then the proposed water surface elevations for both the 50-year storm and the 100-year storm, as you can see, are actually lower than what the existing elevations are right now. So it would actually improve flooding that's out there. My understanding is that it's never been flooded, but it would only improve whatever the existing condition is currently. This is a picture of the staging that we're looking at. As I mentioned, the stage construction. So up here in the top left, the existing typical section. This shows the existing, the temporary barrier that's out there right now. What we would do is come back and build a piece of the proposed abutment, the beams, the deck, and the barrier to the right of the existing structure. We would keep traffic would stay maintained on the existing structure while this was built. Once this was finished, traffic would move over to this side. Again, one lane, which is what it is right now during the temporary conditions, while we demoed the existing bridge. Once the existing bridge was demoed, we'd come back in the final stage 3 here, and build the little piece of the abutment, a couple beams, and the rest of the deck and the barrier to provide the two 11-foot lanes. So basically now you'd have one lane in each direction, as opposed to the single lane that it currently has. This is just a profile of Buttonwood Road, the proposed profile. More or less just kind of showing you that the proposed water surface elevations for both the existing, for the 50 and 100-year storms are actually lower than they currently are right now. So in terms of the two different options, option 1 and option 2, this is a good diagram to show what we're looking at in terms of required right-of-way as well as roadway impact. So what we have down here, as we showed before, was the red hatching, or the two existing openings. The orange is our proposed option. The green right here is the right-of-way takes that would be required using option 1, meaning the orange option here, we would only need this amount of right-of-way in order to put this bridge in. Now with option 2, the purple is the proposed right-of-way that would be required in order to put option 2 in. So you need to take all this right-of-way, and then the yellow is the proposed roadway that would need to be put in as well from Hollow. So it's basically a new alignment, new profile, and a new layout. So, and again, this is the proposed center line of the new Buttonwood lane would be about 14 feet off center of where the existing one is currently. Zoom in on that. So just to kind of go through the two different options, obviously option 1 is basically the original alignment. Like I said, a 14-foot offset to the one side. Option 2 consists of an offset alignment downstream. Span length, 40 feet for option 1. Span length for option 2 was listed as 55 feet. I don't know where that span length came from. My understanding was not based on an H&H analysis. The width of option 1, 27 feet 5 inches. The width of option 2 was listed at 28 feet 3 inches. Both options would require a joint permit from DEP due to the extensive grading and the new structures. Option 1, again, is adjacent to the existing bridge. Option 2 would require a new roadway alignment and profile. In terms of required right-of-way, option 1 would only be 0.02 acres. Required right-of-way for option 2 would be 0.37 acres. This was a cost estimate that we put together for option 1. We went through and calculated line items for each of the roadway items that we would have as part of that option. And then we have in here a lump sum cost for the bridge, which is based on previous experience and kind of historical prices of bridges constructed recently. And then we went through and added on MPT costs, ENS costs, mobilization, contingency, which comes up with a total project cost right now of $1.1 million. Then we added on inflation here. So if this thing was constructed in 2023, we're looking at a cost of about $1.2 million. Now, all that, those costs do not include right-of-way acquisition, depending on what that ends up being. So this was an estimated project timeline that we had gone over back in August. I updated these dates just a little bit. It hasn't really moved since then, but if we were to, continue working in the next month or two, we could finish the preliminary design, basically have kind of the bridge laid out by June. We could have structure borings done by September, submit the ENS plans in October, foundation report would follow in November. At that point, we could submit the joint permit to DEP. At the beginning of this, as far as the joint permit goes, what we would do is set up a pre-application meeting with DEP to kind of go over our layout, the information that I've shown you here tonight, to make sure everyone's on the same page as far as what's required for the permitting. Final structure plans would be ready by April of next year. The whole bid package by June. And then, advertisement in the summer or fall of next year, with construction, depending if you don't want to have a winter break, you could do it early 2023, would kind of be construction. Again, contingent on any right-of-way that would be required. So that's all I have this evening. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Chris, Bernie Corus here. When I look at the 1 versus 2,
Yeah.
It appears to me, and tell me if I'm wrong, that option 2 is a little bit wider than option 1.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know. Again, this was, I guess, done by another engineering firm. I don't know. We tried to keep the width minimal. Again, 2 11-foot lanes. Again, it's a 1-lane bridge right now, so the bridge could kind of be, and if the township wanted a particular width, we can work with that to either make it a little wider, make it a little narrower, or depending on what everyone's looking for, we can adjust that.
So further on option 1 is 11 foot. Now, I don't think we would ever have 2 tractor trailers going side by side, coming and going, but is 11 foot enough to facilitate both?
Well, and that's kind of the point. I guess that's kind of the, since it is a 1-lane bridge right now and always has been, and there hasn't been any issues, technically, if you wanted to fit, we'd have to go to 12-foot lanes, and then maybe have a 2-foot shoulder if we're worried about, 2 tractor trailers going across there at the same time. We'd have to lay out truck turning templates to make sure that those trucks could fit. We're just, at this point, we're trying to replace, to kind of get the best we could without oversizing the bridge, given the low volume of traffic that's on there.
Okay, now with option 1, to divert that smaller stream from going under, is that, excuse me, is that a problem with whoever the licensing authority would be?
No, that's would be part of the pre-application meeting with DEP, just to make sure that they're on the same page. But given the way the water's set up, and how there's not much water that flows through this existing span, we are actually providing a bigger opening than what these 2 separate ones provide. We don't think it would be an issue, but before we moved forward, we would have a meeting with DEP to make sure that we were on the same page.
Okay, one last question.
Yeah.
As I look at these 2 side by side, the sight distance when you're on the egress coming onto Hollow Road, it appears to me you have a much better sight distance up and down Hollow Road than you would, at least in one direction, for 1 over 2. As I recall, there's some little wooded area and such like that, and the bridge that goes over the French Creek is not too far from the second.
Correct. Yeah, it's right up here. Yeah.
Yeah. So does that come into play with whoever the authority would be?
I mean, we could come back and check sight distance. again, it wouldn't be any, if we're looking to improve that, then obviously we could make changes to the roadway on Hollow Road to improve sight distance.
Mhm.
It's one of those things where if you're just trying to replace the bridge, obviously, you can do anything you want with any project. You could obviously improve sight distance, but if we're just trying to replace a bridge, then if it's been like this for all this time and it's not an issue, then maybe it's something that's,
Yeah.
keep,
Okay.
it's something we can definitely look into.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Hey, Chris, this is Mike. What's the width of the current bridge now?
It's 12 feet 6 inches. Now that's with that existing barrier on there. So it's really not that much. It's 14 feet 1 5/8.
Okay. What would the cost difference be if you made a 15-foot one-way bridge, one lane?
Oh, just
Just build a new section and take down the old
like
section.
15 feet. I'd have to run the numbers and figure it out. I mean, obviously it would be a little less. I don't know how much less. You're still doing all the work. You're just chopping off 8 feet, so you still have all your mobilization. You still have all your temporary excavation support. You're still digging all the holes, except now you're not pouring 8 feet of concrete. We might be able to eliminate a beam or two. So there would be some cost savings. I don't know how significant it would be.
Okay. Because I mean, right now there's only probably, I don't know how many houses are off that road or that development, probably only 10 or less.
Yeah, I think that's what
It really doesn't need a 2-lane bridge if cost, savings is there.
Right.
Well, I think one of the issues that the board will have to decide is they want a 1-lane or a 2-lane bridge. The other thing, and I have to talk to the fire company to make sure that they would be comfortable with the 1-lane bridge. When you go into these areas, you want to make sure that they have that, access to that area.
Yeah, well, I mean, I agree with that, John, but most of us live on 1-lane roads.
1-lane roads, I understand. So if you want, I can have a cost estimate prepared for the next meeting to show the difference between a 2-lane bridge and a 1-lane bridge. Was that something the board wants to look at?
Yeah, I would like it.
Yes, I would like that.
This is
Okay.
Bernie
And
jumped in
I
again.
think
Sarah,
the thing that I like perhaps the most about option 1 is that it does not cause all that disturbance that option 2 does across the field. And, it's, if we were having to do an NPDES permit, how big a piece of land are we disturbing in option 1? Not much. We're using pretty much the existing road base and stuff. And the other one looks to me like, putting in a whole new road has got to cost a lot more than extending the one we've got.
Right. And that's why we didn't actually come up with a cost for option 2, given that we know the roadway costs more. The right of way is going to cost more. The bridge span length is longer. So whatever we came up with option 1 at this point, we're confident that option 2 is more expensive.
Yeah. And I've come out there recently enough that I wouldn't want to move the entrance any closer to the covered bridge if we don't have to. So that's another plus for option 1. But Mike, I like your idea because we did that work a few years ago to strengthen that bridge to make it better for the fire company. But I don't recollect that you guys addressed the question of a 2-lane bridge at all.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, so
So maybe
let's
a
find
question.
out if we can save a little money there.
Question for John Granger. Do you know, is there any more potential for development back in that area? Or is that pretty much?
I think it's a build out.
There might be
Area.
one
I
vacant
think what's
lot.
there is the maximum you get in that area to be served by this bridge or by the road and a bridge.
I think one of the houses back there is situated on a double lot that might still be buildable, but it's not very much at all.
Thank you.
Okay, Kathy, is there any questions for Chris out there?
I don't see any questions.
There you go.
Okay, then I guess thanks, Chris, and
Thank
we'll
you.
move on to new business.
Thank you.
All right, the first thing on new business is a request for Hanking to convert commercial to residential.
Mr. Chairman, I believe Neil Fisher, is that right, is here this evening to talk about his request. Is he
Okay.
present?
Okay, I just promoted him to a panelist.
I did the same thing.
Okay.
Congratulations, Neil.
Are you there, Neil? You're muted, Neil.
Yep, I was just let in. Hey, thank you very much. Nice to see everybody. Hopefully it's not too long. We're back in person. But
Not soon enough.
I'm with you. Well, why don't I give you a little bit of a recap of what's going on at Weatherstone. And here, sorry, let me share my video. See if you can actually see me. Here we go. So we've been building out at Weatherstone for, say, the past 18 months, 2 years. And actually, I guess it's a little more than 2 years. You know, we built the Wawa, put in the highway improvements, moved forward with the first phase of our residential, and are transitioning into the town square. So I'm going to share my screen here if I can.
Barrett?
I don't know if this is.
There we go.
That's not what I wanted to share. I want to share this. Are you seeing my screen?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, great. So this is actually a plan that we came into the township with a long time ago, and we said, hey, we'd like to change the way the town center was really set up and create what I'll call a transitional area, transect, where we have lower density residential along Lexington Boulevard. Then we transition into mixed use until we hit the square.
Do you think you're showing us that, Neil?
You're not seeing my map?
No,
No,
I'm
all
looking
you're
at
seeing is your
5
choices.
Wind Coast Sewerage Authority menu. Yeah,
All right, let's try this again.
thanks.
Sorry.
Well, it'd be more fun if we know what you're talking about.
You were seeing a sewer authority thing?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. How's this?
That's
Yeah.
better.
That's
All
good.
right. All right. So you look and see what we have here in yellow. And this is multifamily residential. So these are the smaller buildings. There are manor homes. They're 10-unit buildings. And then the two buildings that flank Lexington and Wingate, that intersection, they're 30-unit buildings, right? And then from, as we transition, as we go towards Route 100, we have two mixed-use buildings where it's retail on the first floor, retail, office, mix and stuff, and then residential above on 2 floors. And then we hit our green space, and that's been designed as that public gathering area. And then as you transition then out towards Route 100 is where we hit higher, or really say is the commercial zone, and really keeping that commercial area located towards 100 and 401, that prime intersection. So what we've built to date is we've built the manor homes, all 7 of the manor homes. They're either being occupied or under construction. We've built constructed and are occupying the first 30-unit building. We have started on the second 30-unit building. So now we've really formed this intersection. And then as you continue towards that green space, we've constructed the first mixed-use building. And we're at the point where we'd like to move forward with this second mixed-use building, or the building that's on the 401 side. what we're finding is that the amount of retail space between these two buildings is more than what we can occupy and what we can fill. We have one tenant for our first building so far. It's a restaurant. Quite frankly, it's a restaurant that we have invested into to bring out to the Weatherstone community. We think having that a restaurant tried to anchor the commercial area is something that's extremely important to this area, and to the vital, or to creating this really healthy, vibrant area. So we've taken those steps to bring them in and make them part of our mixed
You made a
use.
good deal.
Yeah, no, it's not a terrible deal for us.
Well, I know that, yeah, but for them,
But
it's a good deal.
for them, it was a very good deal. For us, we invested into them because we kind of see it as an investment in the community here.
Right.
Neil, how many apartments are in that first mixed-use building?
This building right here, the one that we have occupied
Yes,
or have constructed, 42.
42.
Yes,
Okay.
and
And how
approximately
many were intended for the one across the street?
42. I should know that off the top of my head. Sorry.
I expected you to.
58.
Thank you.
So you can see that this is a bigger building. They're the same type of units that are in both buildings. They're designed to be, they're a little bit smaller units than say our manor houses. These are larger units. They're larger units. They're probably our largest units that we build as a whole, as a company. So these are, the buildings, because of the way they're set up for the retail space on that first floor, it's a little bit narrower building. So here's the way I look at it. The area that we'd like to modify is this portion of the building right here.
The first floor of that building.
On the first floor. And we don't want to turn the corner. This area is still what I'll call in this residential transition zone. And then the corner is, and turning our face out towards the retail area. This is a prime spot for a retail user, facing on the green, just like the restaurant location that we have under construction right now, facing out onto that green. So we want to keep the retail area facing the intersection of Route 100 and 401. But this leg that's running down Lexington or Wingate Drive towards Lexington Boulevard that I've highlighted here, that's an area, it's approximately 15,000 square feet that's on the first floor. We would like to convert that to 14 residential units. It'll be the same type of units that are above it, carried down onto the first floor. We've looked at it from a streetscape to make sure that we're comfortable with it from an architectural standpoint, and that we don't want to change the type of environment that we've created out here. And it will be consistent with the architecture on both of these two buildings here. So it'll carry out and into this green space area and into our courtyard. So we are comfortable.
I'm sorry, Neil, the courtyard being.
Meaning that our square, our activity area. That's what's identified as a green space right here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought you were meaning behind the building, the
No.
parking lot.
So I looked at it from an impact standpoint. Certainly we look at it from an architectural standpoint to make sure that it's not going to create any problems. I also look at it from an engineering standpoint to make sure that it doesn't create problems from that standpoint either. Meaning, will it create more traffic? And this is actually it's actually less of a traffic demand than what was previously approved. I look at it from a sewer standpoint, and this is less sewer demand than what was previously approved. And I also look at it from a, parking, it will create any issues from a parking standpoint. And a conversion of this nature would actually require less parking than what was previously designed and planned for this area. So I'm coming to the board to ask for your thoughts and your input on a modification of this nature. This is what would give us, the Hankin Group, the comfort level to move forward with this next building, because of the soft retail market.
Neil, then would you hold off the corner and the piece that runs perpendicular to 401 until a later date, or would you build that out?
No, we would build this entire building all at one opportunity. That's the problem, is that if this were all to be retail, it's more retail than what can be absorbed into the market and into this location. So that's why
Could you describe to me the kind of design features that you might use to make first floor apartments that either face the street with the crosswalks and walking area or out to the parking lot? How do you make them appealing and private?
Sure. I'm going to change my screen if I can here. Can you see my screen?
Same one.
All right, I got to stop sharing and then I'll reshare here. Lancaster. Okay, I'm going to can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so you're seeing pictures of Weatherstone, correct?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So these are current pictures. This is kind of where we stand today. Here you can see the manor homes that are all built. The first 30-unit building, and then the first mixed-use building, and then what you're seeing closer to 401 is the status of construction on our second 30-unit building, and it's the rear of the building. Manor homes, the 30-unit building. So we're still in the rear. Going to jump over to get to the front. So the whole commercial area has been designed with crosswalks, all the intersections. They're not striped out here yet because we have.
They're on your drawing in your letter.
Okay, so I was kind of hoping that we'd be able to see in front of the 30-unit building, we have small retaining walls and small planters, and whereas in this building we don't have that. Instead, what we have is we have a grass planting strip, and what we may do is we may carry some of those, bring up some of these architecture features to separate and to create a little bit of separation between the residential units that are on the first floor, like what we've done in front of this building, and carry them up in front of this, in front of the new mixed use building. And then as far as crosswalks and signage, I really don't see changes to the site plan that would be necessary necessary. The building footprint, we're not proposing to modify the building footprint at all.
I'm
So
not
all-
worried about signage. I'm
Oh, okay.
worried about looking out my living room window and having
Right.
people looking back in at me.
Sure. Yeah, it's really this, we've built this, we have it here in this situation right here. It'll be similar in nature to that. We've actually also built this down in Florida on a project. We have a very similar situation coming from a residential neighborhood and then transitioning into a town center.
Mhm.
First starting off with straight residential and then into mixed use and then into commercial. It's an extremely similar project, just in a different location. And we've had a tremendous amount of success there in
Mhm.
creating that separation that you're talking about.
Yeah, it seems different to me to have apartments facing apartments than to have apartments facing retail on the ground floor, but I'm probably not one of your renters anyway.
Although I will tell you, we are getting a fair amount of local renters coming in and moving into Weatherstone.
So we're turning over our real estate, huh?
Well, yeah, I think what's happening, some of the people who are renting here are actually, they like it's interesting. I'll say the people who are renting our manor homes are, I'll say above 55. There's it's, they're because they're larger units and they're more geared towards like that move down buyer, more move down renter. And then the people who are locating in the first two buildings here are younger. So it's a very interesting mix of people.
Mhm. Neil, have you given any thought to expanding your, what's it called, green space there? When I look at the size of it compared to the green space over at the corner of 401 and 100, the one over there looks bigger. And right now it just has a little loop trail. I keep waiting for you to put in the bench with the checkerboard in the middle or something, so I can meet an old crony and play chess in the sunshine. So is it always just going to have that little loop, or are you going to add any other things there? But really, I'm going back to the question of, it doesn't look very big, and your green space looks like about half of that, your village center. How big is that?
How big is that? Let me jump back to the plan. I'll share my screen again.
I'm muting for the clock.
That's okay. All right, so 1, 2. So it's about 130 by about 110 feet is the approximate size of the green square, our activity area. And would I increase its size? I think it's a little late to do that. All the parking and infrastructure has been put in for this area. All the roads have been built coming down through here, totally around the square and set up for our project.
Yeah, would you point out where the dog park is?
Mm-hmm. So we've looked at this area right here is where we have future parking as allocating a dog park into this area.
And is
What
it
I'm
gonna be fenced in? Will it be fenced in?
It will.
Okay.
What I'm actually thinking about on a temporary basis, because we have building 8 under construction, is actually locating it over here in this area so that it is closer to the residents and away from construction.
And it will be open to the public. Is that true?
No, it's it's geared towards our residents.
Yeah, I
Then
thought
won't be included?
when you came to us previously or to the planning commission previously, we said we'd like it to be available to the general public. Because, I felt badly that we lost recreation space that was going to be available to the township and our immediate surrounds. And so,
I think if there's a dog park that's going to be open to the public, it shouldn't be in the commercial area here. A dog park that's open to the public would probably be best located in some of the more rural locations in the open space of Weatherstone.
how about across behind the bank?
No, that's also a future development site for us.
I know, but you haven't already put the parking spaces in that one.
No, we have not.
I'm just trying to just help Bernie look for places for that dog park. And I agree with Bernie that it would be very nice to have it closer to our density of apartments. So would it be available to the people of Weatherstone
Would it be available to the people of Weatherstone?
across Lexington?
We're not going to kick any, I don't see us kicking out people. If somebody from Weatherstone walks their dog around the, is walking their dog around the trails, I don't see us having a dog police out there.
Good.
Back in 16, I believe it was 16,
Mhm.
you had come to the SUP board and you asked for a reduction in retail, increase in residential. Could you point
Yes.
out the area that you gave up to residential that was originally going to be the retail?
So this is actually the plan that I came in to the township with and said, I'd like to modify the plan to increase residential. So this area and to decrease commercial. This area was all previously proposed. This entire area was proposed as retail areas. And then we had residential above these buildings right here. And what we did was we decreased the density, or I'll say the commercial density, and we've put in residential along Lexington. And really what it did was it made for a smoother transition from the Weatherstone residential community into this commercial zone. So really what it did was it set up 3 areas, the residential along Lexington, the mixed use to transition then from, higher density residential to a mix, and then out into all retail. So instead of going from low density residential pretty much abruptly into a commercial zone, it went into it more like what I'll call a transect, or a transitional kind of transitioning from, that single family and those townhouses over and into multifamily that's 3 stories, then into mixed use, and then hitting that retail area. Also, at the same time, another component of that 2016 plan was we purchased this property out here right at the intersection of 100 and 401. And that gave us the ability to construct the Wawa that's out there and set up the corner with this green space that's currently out here.
So have you spoken to the homeowners association of Weatherstone 1 and asked for their input as to these changes?
I have not.
Because
I'm not opposed to. I'm certainly not opposed to that. We have a great relationship with the Weatherstone community and the association. Really, this is something that's come about. I wanted to bring it before the board. see if you had any initial concerns with it. I'm certainly, like I said, I'm happy to sit down with the homeowners association. This plan came about, quite frankly, because of the homeowners association support. The homeowners association came in and was a huge advocate with that current board in support of this in support of this plan.
You-
diminished,
But you mean to get the,
commercial and the extra residential?
Yes,
Part of that?
they were. Yes.
I'm kind of
Bernie?
surprised because what I heard when I was campaigning back in 16, 17 was that they were really looking forward to a vibrant commercial area that they could walk their dog
Sure.
to, and not have to jump in the car. And so as I witnessed in 16, 17, whatever it was, that reduction in the commercial office. And now once again, there's another reduction. And
Right.
personally, I'm not impacted by it, but when I think about the people of Weatherstone 1, then it becomes my concern.
Understood. And really what kind of our choice, listen, I totally respect that. And I'm happy to meet with the association and talk about it. From my perspective as a Hankin representative, I can tell you, we will not move forward with that next mixed use building without it, because we can't, for us, having a vacant first floor is more detrimental than not having a building there. Because what it does is it starts to represent the project in not a positive light. And we do want the project to be represented in a positive light when we're marketing it, when we're trying to bring in users. So
and-
that's our stand. That's where
So-
we have to
so-
look at it from kind of a big picture as well.
so
And
Neil,
Bernie-
oh, go ahead, Mike.
Bernie, you have to understand that it's not Neil's want to have residential versus commercial. If the commercial market was there, he would have gone with the original plan.
Without a
It's just
doubt.
the market has been changing and it's continuing to change. And I can see that he's falling into it now with just small retail. Retail is leaving. I mean, it's done.
And part of that is driven by, and I believe, Neil, that you said before that you had approached Trader Joe's. Every
Oh,
time I go into a different Trader Joe's, they are swamped, no matter what time of the day. They're swamped. And this area is hurting. I mean, I have to travel at least a half hour to get to a Trader Joe's. And
Sure.
there's certainly enough of the, how can I say this politically and charitably, the type of clientele who would shop at Trader Joe's.
And
There's an abundance in this area.
yes, but Bernie, Neil would love to have a Trader Joe's there.
I would. We've reached out to Trader Joe's. We've reached out, Giant. We've reached out to smaller Whole Food stores because, listen, I agree with you that a small Whole Food store would do excellent. But the problem is that what they do is they come out and they look at the number of rooftops and they make their projections and they say, no, we're not willing to locate here. We're not willing to take a risk.
Now, what's their target, Neil? How close are we?
Well, what
say not enough rooftops.
Typically what they do is that they look at a 5-mile radius, right? And they would much rather, so instead of locating here, they would much rather go down and locate in Eagle, right? In Upper Euclid, or even better, if I was a retailer, I want to locate even further south. If I can locate in Euclid and pick up on some of that Exton traffic, that's an ideal location.
Well, but all of that, Euclid is within that 5-mile radius who would travel.
Right, and
us.
so is East Nantmeal. And when you've got to, just because there is a portion of that radius that falls in a heavily populated area, there's a large portion of that radius that is not.
Well, it's not even that. Most people will drive towards development than away from it. If they're going to go one direction or the other, if it's equal miles, they'll go to the one that has more to it. So in other words, on Route 100 from here, people tend to drive south versus north. Like if you're going to Lowe's or Home Depot, you choose an area that has more to offer instead of going
Yeah.
north to Lowe's.
Yeah. And it could be that I'm one of those people who doesn't, I go to the Giant in North Coventry because, and which is counter to your theory. Neil, could you go back to the picture with the yellow on it? Because I'd like to finish answering Bernie's question.
All right, so I actually thought I was there, so let me, I
Yeah,
thought I
we've
was.
been looking at your sweet face.
Oh, I thought I was sharing it. I hope I wasn't doing anything.
No, you behave.
All right, let me share my screen and can you see it?
Maybe, yes, thank you. So,
Okay.
Bernie, when they came in with the request to cut the commercial in half and double the residential, those 4 little manor homes in the top of the picture,
Yeah.
that's where the Y was going to be. So there was a 40,000 square foot building with parking all around it. So about 2 acres of that site was that community recreation that I was mentioning earlier. The right below those 4 squares is the funny thing that looks like a pool. Their
Yeah.
plan at the time had the pool over there, but they've moved the pool over to the back of the
Right here.
multifamily residential. And that building next to it, was going to be your office, right? And so you moved the office into the first floor.
We did. We put the office and our community space right here.
Okay. And then on the first floor, you said you've got the restaurant coming in, but is the rest of the first floor of that building fronting on whatever that Wingate is that all community space and rental office?
No, no. So here, I'll just zoom in a little bit here and I'll explain to you what we have going on.
What's on that first floor across the street?
Okay, so this is the building that is the first mixed use building that is constructed.
Right.
This first portion up here, we have an Italian restaurant that's coming in.
Good.
And I believe that I know that we're doing the fit out work right now. We're probably about end of March, hopefully for, their opening right before spring. We have in this area right here, we have community space and our leasing office on the first floor. And then in this area is vacant.
Mhm.
Right. The only one you've rented is the restaurant.
Is the one that we subsidized.
Yeah. And
Right.
those are your EV charging stations just up the,
We have
I heard you put them,
we have them scattered throughout the entire community.
so where are the ones that are already in, scattered?
I actually, I don't know exactly where they are, but I know that we're putting them around all of our buildings.
Yeah, our clean energy team said you beat us to it, so I wondered where it was.
Yeah, I'm sure we have some out there already. We're actually talking about doing more simply because it is than what we initially planned.
Mhm.
The electric cars are becoming more and more popular, and I mean this is the company philosophy as far as car chargers. We're doing them at all of our office parks, all of our communities, and so it'll continue here. And kind of along those same lines. I mean, we've got our company philosophy. We also have we've been doing LEED, which is an environmental certification
Right.
for energy, really relates to energy efficiency for about 15 years. Every building that we have built over this past 15-year period has received some form of LEED certification. These buildings are no different. Right now, we are slated to receive silver on our buildings out here. It's possible we may be able to get the gold, but you never know. You never know how the rating, how, somebody else's rating, agrees with you. But I feel very confident that we're locked in on silver out here at this point.
Okay.
Any other questions for Neil out there, Kathy?
I'm good.
Yeah, I
Sarah?
just have one last thing, Neil. It's a reminder that we are going to be trying to connect the Brandywine Trail along Birch Run Road. And I did see you've got sidewalk along there. So thanks.
Yeah,
And
I know that right now we have some gaps in our walking trail around the commercial area here. We are, as soon as weather breaks, that's one of the first things that we will be completing is finalizing our trail network around the commercial area, around the perimeter, which
right.
like oops, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. For instance, along Birch Run Road, this piece is not in yet.
Mhm.
And we want to get that border and that landscaping in. We just weren't far enough along in construction prior to winter to get the lands, so it ended up being pushed till spring.
So we had Risbon give us a little path along the front of the Zerikniak barn. So
Oh, really?
Just
I
a
wasn't
little-
aware of that.
just a little bit further down the road,
Yep.
So piece by
So
piece,
let me-
we want to get there.
So let me ask the board, what do you think of this concept here for us?
I would like to hear from our planning commission.
Ditto on that. And
That sounds good.
I'd be negligent unless I ask if you are still going to use all native plantings on this property.
Yeah, I believe that's what we worked out with the township as part of our landscape plan. You're testing my memory. I do know that we went through and we made some substitutions at the recommendation of there was a landscape
Planning
review.
commission and EAC.
Yeah, you see.
And yes, we are following through with that landscape plan. And
All right, thank you.
For the benefit of the newer board members and some members of the audience, can you outline for us again the approval procedure for this? Because I know it's not a regular rezoning.
right, so this Weatherstone is this tract right here is part of a settlement agreement between the township and Hankin Group. And the way that this plan, the plan that's highlighted here in front of you, was approved was through that settlement agreement. A modification of the use on the first floor of the mixed use building. I would see that as also a modification under the settlement agreement. Understand that in order to formulate your opinion as to that your desire for this, it's something that to go in front of the planning commission. I'm happy to go in front of the planning commission and have that conversation, and then come back to the board. I would really see this as something that would be done through a resolution, in the same way that our resolution was done to approve this plan that's being constructed today.
And
Mr.
well,
McCarty, do you agree?
Yeah, I'm going to reserve my comment until I hear what the township wants to do with your proposal. But for the benefit of the audience, I just want everyone to know it's not a traditional rezoning.
Well,
That's correct.
it is though something that I thought we were done with back in 2016 when you cut the commercial in half and doubled the density of the apartments. So it's like, is this going to be the last one, Neil?
Don't know.
Listen, here's the way. Let me just come back so I can see everybody. Okay.
We can see you now.
Here's the way that I kind of think about development and the way good development occurs. The way you develop properly is when you have a large tract like Weatherstone was, you create a master plan and you follow that master plan the best you can. Now, for us, we've been building Weatherstone since 2000. So here we are 21 years into Weatherstone. Over the course of 21 years, economics are going to change. The way people act are going to change. There's socioeconomic things that are going to change. And to make sure that what you build and what you create is going to be sustainable into the future, you need to make sure that you adapt. So can I sit here today and tell you that this is the last change that we will ever have in the commercial area? No, I can't tell you that. Can I tell you that the changes that we come before you to try and discuss are going to be things that we believe are going to benefit Weatherstone today, 20 years from now, 50 years from now? Yes, I can tell you that, because that's how we build. So
Right. Well,
Uh,
we have our Ludwig's Corner master plan that really envisions a walkable, mixed use, friendly, and I don't feel that we're headed in that direction. And so I really am looking forward to getting the Italian restaurant in. I'll be doing carry out for a while, but that's exciting to me. But I don't want to compromise the potential for commercial there.
I don't either.
Well, I could tell you how to help him rent one of the spaces, retail spaces from him.
We can
That will
move our
help drive
office
our
up there, Mike. Yeah, we can move ourselves up there. All right, let's think about this for a minute though, because you've been looking at stuff that I only have been casually thinking about, is the impact of COVID on the workspace. And so we know that in West Vincent, many employees were able to just transition home without a hiccup in their work or their finances. I don't know that that's going to be true for an indefinite period of time, but I suspect there will be people who don't commute as much as they used to. We had heard that there was this rush of people buying to get out of the city, and they might have bought something that they now go, oh my God, we were in a panic last summer, and that they're moving back. So what can you tell us about that dynamic? And what do you see it would be in a couple of years? Will we be having empty apartment space? And this is partly something when I see the number of over 55 communities, and I'm being one of those boomers, I think pretty soon we're going to age out of those. It's the lifespan of those developments is what, 25 years or something? And then what's going to happen to all of that? So can you share your vision?
Sure. So a couple of thoughts. I personally agree with you about 55 and older community. I think I understand the attractiveness to municipalities, but I think in the long run, you're right that we could be creating a problem in the future. I'm not concerned about the Weatherstone community as from an apartment standpoint or from an oversaturation, because there aren't very many multifamily rental units for sale in this area. It's not like, for instance, down in Exton, where there's a large residential population that's coming in.
Huge, apparently.
It is. It's very big. However, it's amazing the absorption that's occurring down there, and so you worry about the oversupply even in Exton, and but the absorption is outpacing national standards in Exton. It's people want to locate there, and I believe that if we create what we're creating at Weatherstone is creating a place that is attractive to residential units. It's also attractive to commercial units because they really want to function together. Small retailers want to function in a mixed use environment because that's where people are wanting to live. So I do believe that what we are creating with this plan, and I don't believe that modifying 14 units really has an effect on on this retail market, is creating a type of environment that is going to be attractive to both residential and retail users into the
Yeah.
future.
So
But you really have to create the space first, and modifying this building is going to allow us to build this next building, which is really going to help in creating that space.
yeah, so I see how that benefits your company and us and that area. But what is if we don't get a community dog park, and if we, what is it that we offer people who don't live at Ludwig's Corner to say this was a good thing to do?
Right.
You want to buy us a gazebo at our new
What is-
park? I don't
what is it
know,
that you're-
Neil, but
What is it you're?
let me
For-
just, I don't want to be quite so blunt, but it's going to come out. What's in it for West Vincent?
A healthy community. Right? So listen, if we went and we built that building and had a vacant first floor, that is not good for West Vincent, nor is that good for Hankin, right?
I understand that.
Right? So if we push basically what we're saying is we reduce the amount of retail space. So what's good for West Vincent? You have less traffic on your roads, right?
Nope.
No.
No, because you told me the last time when you took commercial out and put apartments in, you said it
Well,
was
yeah.
equal. There was no difference. They equaled out. So I'm going to believe what you told me the last time. I think we
Well,
can move on from this, Neil. I'll talk to you at the
Okay.
Planning Commission,
Oh, okay.
or maybe you can come in and talk to us someday. So,
Sarah,
yeah,
we have a question for,
Neil.
we have a question for Neil from Ken and Dana Allen. They say, considering the office market is also soft for the foreseeable future, do you see that section also turning into apartments?
No, I don't. And really, what it may just sit as lawn area until we have retail users that will come into that area. And the
I thought
township.
I thought you were going to build out that other piece.
No, he's talking about a larger commercial area, not the building across the street.
They asked
Right.
about office space, and I thought the office was in that piece that goes along Wingate where it turns out to 401.
It could be the remaining portion of the Weatherstone community from our mixed-use buildings out to, say, Wawa, can be a mix of office and retail. So if there was let's say there was a medical office user that wanted to come into the area, which we've been marketing to, trying to urgent care or something like that, would be, a great use for Weatherstone. Hospitals are just, are very similar to retailers in which they look at rooftops. They're studying rooftops and they're looking at the demographics of the area. But it's still a market that we try to attract. But hospitals, just like everybody else, are suffering today. They've been experiencing a lot of pain due to COVID. They have not been doing the elective surgeries. Now they're getting back into those now, but financially they've experienced a lot of pain over the past year.
Okay. To be continued, I guess. Thanks for coming.
And then Neil, I'm sorry, we have a member of the audience with their hand up, so I'm going to unmute them.
Do we know who it is?
I do not.
Okay, we will need their information for the minutes.
I'm asking them to unmute, but, oh, there we go. Go ahead.
This is Brian Curry here. Quick question. Neil, you built stuff for a long time. As you said, things can change. I'm going to say you're proposing to convert it to apartments now. Would it be possible, say it changes in 25, 30 years, to roll them back into the mixed low-level retail with the home above it? This is just a question, with what you're proposing. Would that be possible?
Are you there, Neil? He looks,
frozen.
yeah, he's frozen.
Prison.
Okay.
Sorry, Brian. We'll ask him and get back to you.
I iced him.
Yeah,
Yes, apparently you did.
powerful fella there.
I do not see any other questions other than Brian.
Okay, then I guess
Okay.
we'll move on because Neil's no longer there. Okay, next on the agenda
He's-
is,
Sorry, guys. I
Oh,
lost
there
my,
you
sorry. I was, sorry about that. Were we wrapping up? I know Brian started saying something and I got my computer.
Brian's question was, if in 25 years, can those first floor apartments be converted back to retail if it showed that it was not, you know, a good thing to do?
Sure.
Yeah, okay, so I figured. Okay.
Yes. Hey, so let me just ask the board, so if it's okay, my next steps would be go to the planning commission.
Lost him again. No. He's muted now.
He's muted now.
My fault this time.
And go back to the planning commission and present to the planning commission. And then if the planning commission finds this modification favorable, then come back and continue the discussion with the board. Is that correct? Is that the path that we're talking about?
I
It
think
seems that
so.
way.
Yeah, the EAC or sustainability, some other committee might want to comment as well. So we'll try to give time for all of our advisory committees.
Okay.
Planning commission is Thursday night this week.
Okay. And I know I'll talk to Mr. Granger and then get on the planning commission agenda for that meeting and we'll go from there. Okay.
Okay, good.
Thanks, Neil.
Nice to see you, Neil.
Resolution.
Say
Nice.
what?
In the meantime, you and I can start working on a resolution.
Oh,
That sounds great. Thank you, everybody.
All right, thanks, Neil.
Great to see you.
thanks,
Bye.
Neil.
Yeah. All right, next on the agenda is the request to reopen the playing fields.
I would like to make a motion to approve the request to reopen the playing fields at the Andrew Evans Park.
I'll second the motion.
Any comments or questions from the audience, Kathy or Michelle?
Nope, I don't see any hands up. I don't see anything in chat, so.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, next we have the authorization to support a grant, Chester County Friendship Pick.
I will make the motion to authorize the support of a grant application to Chester County by the French and Pickering Creeks Conservation Trust.
I'll second.
Any comments or questions out there?
I do not see anything. Let me just check this one spot. Nope.
What is this for again?
John,
This is for the local match for the conservation of a parcel known as the Maxwell.
Oh, okay, it's the Maxwell thing. Did you see any questions?
No, I did not.
Okay, all those, this is open space funds, correct?
That's correct.
All those in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Aye. Next, we have the authorization submission for the trail of the county.
I'll do that one. I'd make a motion to authorize the submission of a grant application from West Vincent Township to Chester County for trail improvements at the Township Park at Green Coed, which I still think we need a better name for. So
I'll second that.
call
motion.
it Bernie's Park.
Uh,
He's there
I
every
do-
day.
Okay, I know this, talking to John today, that was a total of $200,000 possible with the
Yes.
township paying 50%.
Mhm.
Is there a way to limit that on this motion to not exceed
The
$30,000?
yeah, the the best way to limit it would be to go forward with the project and then take bids and decide, you know, how you structure the bid. You can eliminate items from the bid to get down to the dollar cost you want. Between
Yeah.
now and then, the township doesn't have any ability to control how much money someone else is willing to pay to do the particular project. So you have
No,
to.
but we can limit ourselves to spend
Right.
no more than $50,000.
Or Mike, what we could say is no more than 50,000 out of 2021 or 2022. And we could leave the gazebo that I mentioned to Neil. We could leave the gazebo sitting for another year and see if we're ready to fund it the next year. But it would all be part of this planning process.
Right. What we have, what the administration has put together is a plan to essentially construct all the improvements that have been discussed in the prior years by the board and the various committees. The only additional item is the relocation of the handicap fishing pier from Cook's Glen to this site. All the other improvements, the trails, the benches, the horse trail, the rain garden, handicap parking spaces, and the gazebo have all been talked about in the past.
Yeah, I just don't see them coming out to $100,000. That's, I guess, or
The
$200,000.
total price would be $200,000 for this project.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get to. I don't see how any of that, what you're talking about, could get anywhere close to that number.
Well, I mean, it's almost a 3/4 of a mile of trail. Now,
Well,
you
it's
have to
already
understand,
built, though. That trail's already built.
this is a new trail that's not built.
So we're gonna have 2 trails in Bridge Co-ed.
When you look at the Bryn Co-ed trail, it's a circle, right? So
Correct.
what was designed earlier by, I guess, the park committee was a linkage from, let's say the trail's an oval. So it'd be a linkage from the 2 oval pieces, one, across the site, and then a linkage from the parking lot to that. So you have a T. So you draw an oval, you draw a line through it, and you go from the parking lot to that new line. That trail length is about 3/4 of a mile.
Right, but I guess what I'm saying is we built that 1.3 mile trail for about, I don't know, $500. So
And
I
we
don't know how it could cost this kind of money to build half of that again.
So,
Well,
yeah,
I would say the highway department spent a considerable amount of time, widening that trail and doing that work. That was in addition to what you guys did when you trailblazed it and cut it out. The trail has to be 6 feet wide according to the easement with NLT. And we're putting down wood chips.
we put a bridge in.
And they built a bridge this year. So, what's being proposed is to do what is necessary to construct a 6-foot wide trail along that path. It also, at the top, there's a conflict between the pedestrian and the horses. We want to separate those 2 uses. We want to construct 2 hard surface or 3 hard surface handicap parking spaces, and then build a handicap trail from those spaces up to the top of the park, construct a rain garden at the top, and do some stormwater management improvements up there where there is standing water in the area that has been cleared by demolition work. Apparently there's a spring that was disturbed. And get some benches. Signage is a big issue here. We want to do some interpretive signs as well as directional signs, letting people know they're in West Vincent or they're not supposed to go on private property. In this couple areas, there's been some incidences in the past. The cost was prepared by the township engineer. They're relatively, they're taken from other projects that have been awarded in the past several years. Given the scope of the work, it'll probably be less than that, but you won't know until you bid it out and you find what the product is.
Okay, so, but you just mentioned something that the trail has to be 6 feet wide?
That's correct. The agreement the township has with NLT on this site, the easement agreement, says trails have to be 6 feet wide.
Huh, I wonder why no one said that to us when we're building it.
Fortunately, I mean, a large part of the existing trail has been widened to 6 feet. There is an area where it starts right before the driveway and up to behind the building that is not 6 feet wide. And, you know, part of the cost of this grant is to make that area 6 feet wide. And it is a required.
That's a tough area to make 6 feet
Yeah,
wide.
we may need to relocate that on top of the hill there.
Right.
And that's part of the problem here we're trying to address.
Okay.
Sorry, right?
So, okay, I made a motion. Did Bernie second it?
Yep.
Good.
Any comments or questions from the audience?
I have one hand up,
Okay.
John Eldridge.
I
John, you should be unmuted.
He
Yeah.
is.
I presume about 90% of the use of this trail will be from non-residents, non-West Vincent residents.
I would think you're wrong in that, John. We've got a lot of township residents using that park now.
Okay,
We did make our parking available to natural lands when they were having really bad overflow and traffic jams early last year when people were fleeing their homes because of COVID. But it's what we're doing is trying to mark the trails close so that we can point to the preserve, because one of the infractions of private property is people going up to the house to say, how can I find the preserve? And it's across that field, you're on the wrong side of the field. So that's part of what we'll be doing. But I expect that we will have some people from outside, but I believe West Vincent residents will be delighted to make full use of it.
one more question. If you go back to item 9, what was there a cost on that that didn't come up?
Oh, yes. What was the cost of that? 200 and something?
But I
200.
think it's
278.
So is it, when you say authorization to support, do we just donate 200,000 to?
It's a joint effort to preserve 56 acres, I think it is,
And
with the county or with.
we don't pay it till the deal is done. So
Okay. Thank you.
Anything
Thank
else?
you.
Okay.
We have one other question from Ken and Dana Allen.
Okay.
They want to know, will the chips from the trees being cut down throughout the township be used along the trails of the Brincoed Park? Also, would donations of chips from private residences be accepted?
I know the part, I'll do the first part, John. No, they won't be used because the township's got plenty of its own chips. Do we want more, John?
I suspect that all of the chips that will be generated from this project will be used on the site. And there's a fair number of dead ash trees that are going to have to be removed. So I will leave I'll put on the market here a tentative no, but talk to me in 6 months and we'll know a little better about if we need more chips. If we need more chips, we'll certainly put a note out and have some mechanism for, to get them. But presently, the answer is no.
I can always use more chips.
Oh, okay. Well, Bernie, it's what Asplund will dump the chips if you want. But when John and Mike Hogan and I were over at the Cow Palace Park, we were looking at the big pile of chips we've got there, and he said he had plenty for now. But there are several large ash trees that could endanger the trail down towards Brincoed Lane. And by the time they cut those and chip the tops of them, we're going to have plenty. But on Flowing Springs Road, where the chips were blown up against the side of the road, that was done by Natural Lands. So Asplint will be carrying the chips away unless somebody says, please dump them here or spray them here. So.
Okay, I do have one more question. The money for this grant, is that coming out of open space or general fund?
No, it'll come out of the capital fund.
Okay.
There's money allocated for it.
Okay, I'm not in agreement with that, but any questions out there?
I do not see, oh wait, I'm sorry, there is a hand up. Barry DeLibero, hang on, let me unmute him.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, I worked on that trail many weekends with Mike and the guy that designed it, Bill Holderness. And I don't ever remember this. The only reason I never heard anything about having to do a 6-foot trail. In fact, the concept was not to be a 6-foot trail because this was not going to be for horses. And when you put wood chips down, it becomes a disaster. I mean, Bill Holderness has 30 some years of experience of building trails for the state. And Mike, do you remember this? This was a specific thing was this was a walking trail and nothing was ever said in all the meetings he ever had. In fact, the trails on the natural lands trust or whatever it is, their trails aren't 6 feet wide.
Right. Yeah, that's why this is very surprising to me.
I'm telling you, I read the easement agreement the township has with Natural Lands, and it says the trail shall be 6 feet wide.
Is that public anywhere? Can I get a hold of it?
I will post it on the web sometime this week.
That would be fantastic. Because I'm telling you, we spent a lot of time in that with a very specific reason of keeping it narrow.
Right. Well, we'd like one of the aspects of this project will be if once we get approval, we'd like to have the same group of people trailblaze these trails, so it's easier to mark it out. Everybody has a buy-in, and the contractor will come and do what he needs to do to construct it. So.
All right. Thanks, Barry. Any other questions out there?
I don't see anything.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
I will have to say no. Thank you. Next, we have the authorization for submission of the grant. No, wait. Yes, grant application for the Vision Partnership Program.
I will make that motion to authorize the submission of a grant application to Chester County through the Vision Partnership Program.
And how much is this one for?
This is, can we get a second before we discuss?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
I'll second.
Okay, this is the same thing we approved last year when our clean energy transition team in partnership with people from Schuylkill Township and East Pikeland submitted a grant application to the county.
I just don't remember how much.
Like $5,700 for us.
Okay, John did tell me, but I forgot already.
Yeah, and so this is a resubmission. They met with the grant managers at Chester County, got some good advice. And we're resubmitting with a much improved proposal, they tell me.
Okay, any questions out there, Kathy or Michelle?
Not see anything.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, next we have the setting of compensation rate for zoning hearing board.
Solicitor. I make the motion to set the compensation rate for the zoning hearing board solicitor at $200 per hour.
And I'll second the motion.
Any questions or comments?
I don't see anything now.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, next we have authorization to purchase a wood chipper in the amount of $46,000.
Do you want to do a couple, Bernie?
I make the motion to authorize the purchase of a wood chipper from the Modern Group in the amount of $46,926.
I second that motion.
John, at this point, we don't have a wood chipper.
No, we have to rent one, and in times when you need it, you're always third or fourth in line, and you have to wait sometimes as long as a week before you can.
How many times have we used it in the last year?
Half a dozen.
And the real
Half a dozen. And what's the rental rate for that?
I don't know off the top of my head.
about $300 a day.
$300 a day.
No, wait a minute, let me take that back.
No, that's pretty cheap.
Yeah, that's the one that I rent when I use one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they are
So,
expensive. They are
$600 a day, $700.
Somewhere, I could find out for you tomorrow, Mike, but I don't have it on the top of my head.
That's a lot of days of rental for something we
Yeah.
only use once every couple of months.
I think because of the ash trees, Pico is going to be doing us a big favor, cutting down a lot of them. But any road in the township you go along, you see a lot of dead. Now that I know what I'm looking at, I see a lot of dead ash trees, and our crew is going to have to deal with a lot of them as they threaten the road or come down on the road, or as in the Cow Palace Park, they are going to come down on the trail, and we've got to take those down ahead of time before somebody's walking the trail when they come down. So we're
But that's
going to,
fine, but that can be planned and the equipment can be rented at that time.
yeah, but we'd
I
be
just-
renting it for 18 months, Mike. This is not a short term. There's almost 30 trees marked on my stretch on Davis Lane between end to end, less than a mile. So Pico's going to do those, but there's another half a dozen that threaten the road, but not the wires, and they're going to have to come down. So this is not going to be a one-off project or a short term. It's going to be ongoing for quite a while.
Hmm.
Just, that's my thought.
Yeah, just the past experience doesn't justify the cost. Is there any questions out there?
I see two hands up. I see Brian Curry and Barry DeLibero.
Okay.
I'm currently remoting in to see the charges for the wood chipper,
Thanks.
previous charges. I'll get back to you, but I'm gonna unmute Brian Curry right now.
Okay. Yes, Brian.
I've got this drill down now. I've been trained. It sounds like the township is going to end up doing a lot of tree work, that we're not going to have Richard Brown, who has generally done tree work in the past. And if I remember right, tree service companies have really ugly insurance rates because the number of things that can go wrong when taking down or dealing with trees is a lot. Have we looked at what the impact on the township's insurance rates, or did we notify the insurance company that we're going to be doing a lot more tree work?
Well, the tree, let me be clear here. We're not going to be doing the same type of work that contractor does. We're not experienced, and we don't want to take that risk on. One of the things that caught our attention was the amount of tree debris blocking roads and making them and storm drainage work on roads after a storm or during a storm. The last storm we had in the township, we rented a chipper for almost 2 weeks, and that's all the highway department did was chop trees up. And it was debris on the field, not stuff they had to cut down. It was already down. They just cut it and they blew it to the chipper. That type of maintenance is something that will always be done. There is some basic hand maintenance that needs to be done in parks when you're trimming trees, usually at ground level. We don't have a tree climber. We're not going to be a tree climber. We're not going to schlep down a 60 or 40-foot tree. It's not in our strength. What is really important is a timeliness to make sure that the public can access the road so that public safety services can get through in a timely fashion. The last storm we had was created a lot of tree damage in a lot of the areas in the more rural areas, and it just took a fair amount of time, and we had to wait almost 10 days before we could get the chipper. That's the problem, is when there is a storm and you go to a rental company, everybody wants the same pieces of equipment. So you have to wait your turn in line if you're not there, first in line, and that's the problem here.
Well, except for you move these brush that you would run through a chipper off the side anyway, and you can wait. You don't have to do it immediately.
In some cases, that's correct, but in some cases, not. Right.
question for me then is it possible to, have a retainer fee that you pay the rental company, says, listen, we want to be first in line if this comes up before anybody else, as opposed to, we've now got a chipper, we've got to maintain it and everything else that goes with that, and probably won't have the utilization that the rental company has, one thing. The second thing is, I've been here for, over 30 years now, and I never remember that we've had that much of a problem in the past. What is changing, or is it that we've got a whole bunch of trees that, haven't been maintained over 30 years now?
Well, certainly the tree vegetation changes as trees mature. They go through the life cycle. It's a living thing. You go from young to middle to age, and you die off. You lose limbs all the time. I don't know the history of the township. I will just tell you what I've observed since I've been here. It's an issue that I think you need to pay attention to, and it's only going to get worse because you have a predominant older tree story in this township.
Brian, the arborist who was out talking to us about the ash trees said that 25% of the trees in Pennsylvania are ash trees, and they have all been killed by the emerald ash borer. This is not something that either of us would have seen 30 years ago, but it's a relatively new, maybe 10 or 15-year pest, but it got so pervasive that it's killed most every ash tree. If they're not diseased, they will be soon. So there is a change in the environment besides the aging out of trees, because the road trees are, go ahead.
I'll accept that part. Then go back to the other part of, is it possible to, pay a retainer so that you're first in line for rental, on a wood chipper if we need it, going forward, we pay $1,000 for a year.
I don't know the answer to that question. Sorry.
You were going to get back to Mike about something. May I suggest that you see if there is something and get back to Mike and let him know on that also?
Yeah, I could do that.
And the other question is there companies out there that will do the wood chipping for us?
You'd have to have a contract with a company to do it.
Okay, well, we do have a tree guy, right?
You have a tree guy.
Does he do chipping?
I don't know if he does chipping. I mean, you'd have to have an agreement that says you are like what's his name said, you want to have
just like the plowing,
like the plow. Right. You work for us in this, this period of time, you bring your equipment in and you do it.
Right.
Now, the issue here is, it's the return on your investment. You have the price of the thing, how long and how many times a year are you going to use it?
Correct.
If you use it once a year, you don't need a chipper, but if you use it a dozen times a year, that's the issue, is you don't know what that's
right, and you won't know from year to year. But history does give you an idea of what you're going to use. Plus, if you have the numbers from the person that would do the work for you, subcontract it, and it's $1,000 a day, and use it 10 days, well, then of course it would make more sense to just buy one.
Right.
But if it's $300 each time and it's 10 times, then probably not worth having one.
All right, I can give me a month and I'll have more information for you if you want.
Okay.
I think we have a motion made and seconded.
Yes. Do we have any other questions, Kathy?
Yes. So Barry, I just unmuted Barry DeLibero. He has a question.
And did you look up the cost for last year?
Last year was around 15 grand, but again.
Wait, 15 grand for a chipper?
Yeah, believe it or not. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the problem.
Okay. So it's a high number. Okay.
Yeah.
Not a problem. Yeah. That's what I needed to know. Thanks.
Right. Okay.
Yes, Barry.
Okay, well, I'm just a farm boy, so I don't have a lot of experience in this. But And also I can tell you from renting, just looking it up real quick on Sunbelt, which is the most expensive place to rent, you can rent a pretty big piece of equipment from them at a 12-inch diameter, 85 horsepower diesel. And that's $375 a day. If you were to rent it for 4 weeks, it comes down to about $141 a day. That's weekdays only for 20 days. I have never known in this township, and I've been here quite a while, that it's ever been that much of an emergency that they haven't chopped up limbs and trees and pushed them off to the side with the backhoe or the front end loader and handled it at a later time. That's what all other townships do also. When you're talking about those kind of numbers on a $45,000 piece of equipment that you then have to maintain and all the repairs, if you're not using that wood chipper at least once a week, it doesn't pay. I've done the math a million times on the farm when I grew up on the farm, and we finally bought a used one for $4,000. My father still has it to this day, and he only uses it about 4 times a year. I think the number is crazy for the amount it's used, and you're talking about some kind of emergency thing. We've never had the issue before. You chop the wood, you push it off to the side. It still has to be cut into lengths that the guys can handle anyway. So you're cutting it down into 4 foot or 6 foot lengths anyway. So it's easily handled. I think it's a folly. It sounds great to have it. In the end, you're going to end up spending more on this than you ever would renting it. There is no, I'm surprised you'd ever believe there's an emergency on it. And I would certainly look into people that could do it, like Jason Smith, that have the ability to do it if there's an emergency situation. There's people out there that can run out here and do it within a day, but the backhoes, the front end loaders, they always push it off to the side. I mean, as it is, I've seen the road crew leave trees across a road for 2 and 3 days at a time. So I don't know what these emergencies are. That's all I got.
Okay, but Barry, you forgot that last year they spent $15,000 renting a wood chipper. And in that case, if we're using it that much, then the 47,000 would make sense.
Well,
in my opinion.
that all depends, Mike. How often did the wood chipper sit? Did they rent it and then not use it for 3 days at a time?
Well, that's a good point. I don't know that.
You know, what's in the reports? What's in the manager's reports? You know, the roadmaster's reports. How often did they actually wood chip? Sometimes they get the equipment and then it just sits. It's not their money.
True.
Show me that they use it every day for those periods of time.
They do. The highway guys are very cautious about cost and rental of equipment. The day they get it, they use it. The last day they use it, it's returned. The only time it's sitting is if something happens that requires their attention to
something else. Right.
Something else. It's not sitting for 5 days while they're figuring out what to do. They get it, they use it, they return it.
When did you get here, John?
April last year.
That's all I needed to say. We're good.
Okay. Well, I was very surprised that we spent $15,000. If we spent $15,000, then we are probably in the position that we would buy one. I mean, not that we shouldn't be looking at a used one, but that's where I would be looking for a used one.
We have one more question. Jane Altman. Okay. I'm going to allow her to talk.
Okay.
Jane.
Hi, I've lived here for 25 years on a tree-lined road, and we've had plenty of trees come down, and I've never had the township come and clean up the mess. If it goes down across the road and Pico will come and cut the tree lengths out, and everything gets pushed to the side, and it's always been the property owner's responsibility to clean everything else up.
That's true.
So who's been getting their trees cleaned up by the township is what I want to know.
That's a good point. I don't know.
I can see what I see here.
No, Michelle, that was a rhetorical question. We don't need to answer it.
Oh, yeah.
They're
One of
various
the,
I kind of would like to know.
well, one
all
of
I
the,
have is various township roads. I don't have anything. specific.
Michelle,
Sorry.
one of the roads that needed to be cleared last June was Ford Road that goes to one house, but it was blocked. It was blocked by several trees. So, our trees right away blocking our road.
Well,
So
Sarah, Black Horse Road has been blocked numerous times by
I hear what you're saying, Jane. I understand, but I could think of
and
one example.
we've always done the cleanup.
We do it once Pico gets the wires out of the way.
But why? I mean, here on Black Horse Road, we do it after Pico leaves.
Yeah, but
Well,
we
next
have-
time apparently to call the township.
Yeah, I'll call the township.
Yeah, I'd say that's a good idea. We have a responsibility to the roads. So
But if Pico clears the road's
Pico
clear.
doesn't. Pico up on Beaver Hill Road, not around the corner from Bernie, down past Bernie's a ways. There was, I think, a 7-day period that some neighbors couldn't go one way or the other because they were waiting for Pico to get the trees off the wires. So we've had, in the last couple of years, we've had some very unusual storms. So our 25-year, 30-year history is valid for us, but it might not be valid for the future. So,
Okay, any other questions? Thanks, Jane.
Yes, Brian Curry and Barry DeLibero.
Okay.
Brian Curry's first. Go ahead, Brian.
Like,
Barry raised some questions about usage. $15,000 is real money, but at the same time, Mike has also, raised some questions about 15,000. Mike, might it be good for you to look at the bills and see where they were used over that, over the last year? Where did we go and burn $15,000? Or this is not, hammering the treasurer, but, is something, the way she searched it, does it look like, is something else gathered into that $15,000? So that's, I don't think we need this tomorrow. Might it be something to go and have Mike look at the bills and, see did we really spend $15,000 in the last year? That's it for me. Thank you.
Mike, I real quick ran through my head and estimated and added in my head. So that was an estimate, just saying.
Yeah, but I'm sure it's good enough.
yeah. Thanks, Michelle. Don't worry.
Okay, and then Barry has his hand up too.
Okay. He has to unmute.
I know, I asked him to unmute.
Sorry
There
about
it is.
that. Sarah, real quick on the process, you seem to know this pretty well. So if a tree comes down on the road, then the road crew comes out and what do they do then? They chop it up and then they'll chip it or haul it away or whatever?
When the tree crew comes out to my road, I can't get out of my driveway, so I'm not monitoring their performance.
Well, I'm just wondering, because you're saying that this is for clearing the roads and then they chip up the branches and the trees and all that and then, right?
That's the purpose of the tripper, I guess.
That's the purpose of the chipper, right? That when you're cleaning up the roads, is that what you're saying? Then the tree comes down, you chop it up and you chip it?
You chip those parts that need to be chipped.
Yeah, you need to, so you get rid of it then and then what do you do with the chips?
Barry, I'm not on the road crew. You know that.
But-
Joe, is there a way we call the motion?
I'm not finished here. So the question is, okay, so the process, okay, we'll go to John then. John, they're using this thing, trees come down on the road and then they clean them up and they chip them and they haul the stuff away, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. So that's the process of it, is then after the tree comes down, they chop everything up that comes down on the road and then they take it away, whether they chip it or whatever.
Right.
Okay, great. That's all I wanted to hear. Thanks.
Any other questions out there?
Brian Curry.
Mike.
Okay, last one. This is the last one. Go ahead, Brian.
That was a miss on that. I'm done.
Okay, thank you. Oh shit.
Motion.
John Eldred.
I'm down to 10%. What's that?
There's a
John
motion on the
Eldridge.
floor in a second.
All right, well, we gotta let John on. Go ahead, John.
As a matter of interest, I think you're required to burn all ash trees. You're not supposed to use them for firewood, etc. Just burn them immediately.
You can burn them. What you're not supposed to do is move them out of an infestation area into an area that is not infested, because there will be borers in the wood. But if you're going to stack it and burn it, it's fine, because it's already killed all the trees in our neighborhood.
Okay.
So are you allowed to chip it?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. It's like the spotted lanternflies. They said chipping was one of the best things to do with the ailanthus trees because it breaks up the seed cases, the egg cases.
Okay,
So,
all right.
who knew?
All right. We have a motion. We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
I think I'm gonna have to say no on this one. Next on the agenda is the authorization to purchase a trailer and equipment.
It's a trailer to move the chipper, I bet.
Yeah.
I will make a motion to authorize the purchase of a trailer from Groff Tractor and Equipment in the amount of $27,031.
I'll second the motion.
I hate to ask this question. Any questions or comments?
I don't see any. Oh, wait, sorry, one hand up. Brian Curry.
Okay. Yes, Brian.
The question I have is, this came up with purchasing a trailer before, within the last year or two. And
or four.
And I'm curious what has changed in the interim, or is this that, well, we've got a wood chipper now and we've got to move it on the trailer?
Yeah, I think that's it.
No, the wood chipper is rubber tired and it's a tow behind. This is for heavier equipment, roller, and other things that are not road ready. The issue is not only for pickup and delivery, but moving it from job site to job site. And if we run a piece of equipment such as a roller, we do it when we have a substantial amount of work, but not in one location. So when you're done in one location, you put it on a trailer, you move it to the next location, and so forth. Otherwise, you got to wait until the guy can come out and move it. And, the daily cost of moving it, I think, is several $100s a day, or $700 a move. And it just makes it much more efficient for the workforce to work this way. It's not only the cost of the trailer, but it's the cost and downtime of the guys waiting for something to happen. And that cost is lost productivity.
Yeah, John, we went through this years ago and we did the analysis on the number of times that they used the equipment that they would need a trailer and the cost of renting it, and also the cost of, or if they did have a trailer, to go out and get the equipment and bring it back and take it back. We did that analysis and it didn't work out that there'd be a good reason to have a trailer because we weren't using it enough. Just again, some of these pieces of equipment are nice to have. And of course, when it's not your money, you can spend it this way. But when you look at the numbers and the use, it doesn't make sense to have it. And this was discussed at length before.
Right.
And I'd say it was before either Bernie or I was on the board.
I agree with that statement, yes. Is there any other questions?
I don't see anything.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second.
One
What's
more
that?
hand up. Jane Altman.
Yes, Jane.
I'm just gonna say it wasn't that long ago, Mike. I'd say it was less than 2 years ago that was discussed.
Okay. Thank you. Is there, well, there is no other questions, right?
No, nothing else.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I will also have to deny or say no to this one. Next is the authorization to advertise for a bid for the tar and chip program.
I make a motion to authorize the advertisement for the bid for the 2021 tar and chip program.
I second the motion.
Any comments or questions?
I do not see anything. No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next is the appointment of a chair to the Human Relations Commission.
I make a motion to appoint Louis Cantararo as chair for the Human Relations Commission.
I second that.
Any comments or questions?
I do not see any.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I have a
All
question
right.
on that. Do we need to authorize a vote for the vice chair?
I think the ordinance just
Update to
said
that?
the chair.
Just the chair? Okay.
John,
Just-
should we do the vice just to be sure?
You can, yeah.
All right. I make a motion to appoint Julie Foster vice chair of the Human
I'll-
Relations Commission.
I'll second that.
Any comments or questions?
Yes, Brian Curry.
Okay, well, yes, I'm mute.
Yeah, I asked him to unmute. Go ahead, Brian.
Oh, he muted again. There he is.
There we go. Normally, in all the other boards, the boards themselves decide who the chair is. Is the ordinance that established the Human Relations Commission different in that the Board of Supervisors has to appoint that
Yes.
person? Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions?
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, now we're into public comment and non-agenda items. Is there anybody out there?
Oh, yes, two. Brian Curry.
Goes back to something that got past me before I was able to ask the question or realized it. On the opening of the playing fields, at other subcommittees, I'm going to say, there was a lot of discussion about insurance issues on it, playing at your own risk, whether you had to go and have certain health protocols in place, etc. Has all that stuff been resolved? If I remember right, there was a discussion that we're going to have to go back to the insurance company and get them to accept this and buy off on this, or did they decide it's an acceptable risk?
And Brian, we did what we said. John went back and checked, and we are making this recommendation. We're opening it based on the information he got.
Mr.
The,
Chair, this question for non-agenda items?
That's all right.
Go ahead, John.
Go ahead, John.
On the issue of the insurance, because the township does not sponsor or is in no way involved in the operation of any sports events at this, it's not like the West Vincent baseball field, West Vincent baseball team, West Vincent soccer team. They are under the care and control of a third party. Because the township is not part of that, there is an exemption in the insurance market, in the township, that the township assumes no liability for something that is not under its custody, care, or control. Therefore, we have no liability. If something happens, it's not on our thing. The sports organization assumes that liability. We are not a co-insured. We're not getting involved in anything that any sports association does. That was covered. I mean, that's what the insurance company told me. I wrote a memo to the board and how I explained it to the board, that because we're not under the controlling custody of the organization and the activity. The township assumes no liability.
All right, thank you.
Right.
Any other?
Brian DeLibero is unmuted. I'm
Barry?
sorry, Barry. I'm sorry,
There
Barry.
you go, Michelle. There.
I'm mixing you guys up here.
Listen, I got to check. I was looking at my notes and I can't quite read them. Back when you guys were doing the ordinance for the short-term debt, what was the interest rate for that?
The interest rate will be determined tomorrow. It will be around 1.08%,
Okay, and how much is that going to cost us in interest?
about $5,000
That's weird because I
Wow.
thought I
year.
heard it wrong because I come up with almost $14,000, John.
But yeah, sorry, it's $5,000 per year for 5 years, about
Per
$15,000.
annum. Oh my God! Yeah, I'm
Right.
so sorry. Yeah. Okay, so it's $15,000 or $14,000.
About 14. Yeah, it goes down as the principal gets paid down. So
No, it's 14,000 over the life of it, Mike. It's
Right.
4. It's not 5.
Sorry.
Okay, I thought there
My
was
mistake.
something weird about that. There's a big difference between 5 and 14. So,
Right.
okay,
My
that's
mistake.
all I needed. Thank you. Sorry.
all right. Any other questions out there for non-agenda?
Brian Curry.
I'm going to sneak in a motion to adjourn pretty soon.
I don't blame you. Go ahead, Brian.
Hey, and all I'm here for is to thank John for the clarification on the insurance issues. I really appreciate that. Bye.
Thanks.
Motion to adjourn. Bernie, you're muted,
you
but
have
we
to
can tell
unmute
what you
to
said.
Second emotion.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good
All
night,
right.
everybody. Thank you, Kathy
That was
and
the longest one
Michelle.
we've had for a while.
Yeah, we were doing so good, but
I'll see everyone.
very much.
Thank you.
Take
All
care.
right, see ya. Bye.
Bye.
Night, Michelle. Thank you, Kathy.
You're welcome.
We got Brian named, so we know that our lurker is still here.
Yes, I do that.
Yeah, that was very
probably make him
nice.
mad, but I do that.
No,
I do that for
that's
me.
good.
so I know.
You've done it to me too, so turnabout fair play, huh? Okay.
Okay, everyone. Have a good night.
Yeah,
Have a good
you
night.
have a good sleep, Kathy. Take care.
Yeah.
Good night.